Good evening. You've arrived at a very quiet place, at a very quiet hour, and I'm glad you're here. This is a weather station, a small one. It stands alone near the top of the world, a little building of glass and timber glowing softly in the middle of the snow, hundreds of miles of darkness in every direction, and overhead, tonight, a slow green curtain of northern lights moving the way weeds move underwater. It is deep in December. The sun set here many weeks ago, and it will not rise again for many weeks more. The people who work in places like this call it the long, poor night. Out here, night is not an event. Night is simply the weather of the sky, and someone has to watch the weather. That someone, tonight, is the night observer. You'll hear about him now and then. He has done this for many winters. He is not in a hurry. He has never once been in a hurry. And nothing that happens tonight will change that. Let me tell you, right at the beginning, exactly what is going to happen over the next 2 hours, so that you can stop wondering and let your shoulders down. The snow is going to fall. The instruments are going to be read. The readings are going to be written in a logbook, in small, neat handwriting. The kettle will be filled once or twice. And every hour, on the hour, the observer will confirm what he confirms every hour of every night, that all readings are normal, and all is well. That's it. That's the whole documentary. Nothing is going to surprise you. There is nothing to follow, and nothing to remember. If you drift off in the middle of a sentence, the sentence will not mind. Here is the first report of the night, then. Taken at the top of the hour from the sheltered thermometer on the north wall. The temperature is 31 degrees below zero, which sounds severe. But the observer would tell you that 31 below, with no wind to speak of, is a gentle night up here. A settled night. The wind is from the northwest. 4 knots, perhaps 5. Barely enough to lift loose snow off the drifts and set it down again a few feet away. And the snowfall is light and steady and slow. The best kind falls straight down, flake after flake after flake, all night long, as if the sky had nowhere else to be. The temperature is holding steady, the wind is gentle, the snow is light and steady and slow. All readings are normal. All is well. Come inside now, out of the cold, through the double doors that keep the warmth in, and up 2 wooden steps into the observation room. This is where the whole night happens. It's a wide room with windows on 3 sides, tall panes of glass, triple glazed, their corners feathered white with frost. Beyond them, the snow falls through the station's soft outdoor lights, and beyond that, only the dark. The room is lit the way a room should be lit at this hour, which is to say, barely. Two brass lamps with amber shades, the small red and green pinpoints of the instruments, the low orange breathing of the stove in the corner. Nothing bright, nothing white, nothing that asks anything of your eyes. Along the window runs the observation desk, old, heavy, smoothed by decades of sleeves and elbows. On it, arranged the same way they have been arranged for 50 years, the logbook, open to tonight's page, a fountain pen resting in the fold, the barometer in its brass case, a thermometer, a small clock with a very soft tick, and a mug of tea, freshly poured, the steam rising off it in a thin, unhurried ribbon drifting through the lamplight. Listen to the room for a moment. There's the tick of the clock, the hum of the heater, low and constant, like a big sleeping animal, the faint press of the wind against the glass, more a presence than a sound. And underneath everything, that particular silence that only exists inside a warm building surrounded by snow. The night shift here follows a ritual, and the ritual never changes. Readings on the hour. A walk to the window between them. Tea when the kettle asks to be poured. And the logbook, always open, waiting patiently for its small numbers. The observer likes this ritual. He would tell you, quietly, without looking up, that a night with a good ritual doesn't need anything else in it. The temperature is holding steady at 31 below. The wind is still 4 knots from the northwest. The snow is still light and steady and slow. Nothing needs to be done right now. Nothing needs your attention. The observer sits down at the desk now, pulls his chair in carefully so it doesn't scrape, and draws the logbook toward him across the wood. The logbook is a beautiful thing, if you like quiet things. Cloth-bound, grey-blue, its pages ruled into gentle columns. Time, temperature, pressure, wind, snowfall, remarks. Decades of winters rest on the shelf behind him in identical volumes, each one full of nights exactly like this one. He unscrews the cap of the fountain pen, a small brass sound, and he begins the first full entry of the night. Time, 11 o'clock in the evening. Temperature, minus 31.2 degrees. Pressure, 1021 millibars and steady. Wind, northwest, 4 knots. Snowfall, light, continuous, flakes small and dry, and in the remarks column, in letters slightly smaller than the rest, aurora overhead. Village lights visible to the north. A calm night. He reads the entry back to himself once, in a whisper, the way you might check on something already known to be fine. Minus 31.2, pressure steady, wind 4 knots, snow light and continuous. And he sets the pen down in the fold of the book, where it waits for the next hour. You don't need to remember any of these numbers. They are written down now. That's the whole point of the log, so that no one has to hold anything in their head. Not the observer, and certainly not you. While the entry was being written, the window nearest the desk. Quiet work. It starts. In the corner of the pane, where the glass is coldest, a thin as breath, and then it grows. Slowly. Branch by branch, feather by feather. Little white ferns unrolling across the glass at a pace no camera could, which is exactly why we are watching it. The observer has watched frost form on this same window for many winters, and he'll tell you it never grows the same pattern twice. Tonight had its May, something like tonight it is making something like fern leaves. Last night it was more like rivers seen from very high up. And tomorrow it will be something else. The frost doesn't plan, it just follows the cold, one crystal at a time. Through the frosted glass, the world outside has gone soft. The station's lights are pale halos. The snow passes through them in slow diagonal drifts. And far away, through the one clear patch the frost hasn't reached yet, a faint warm blur on the horizon, the lights of the village to the north, melted by the ice into a single golden smudge. The frost will keep growing all night. It doesn't need watching. It doesn't need help. By morning, or what passes for morning here, it will have covered the pane entirely, and the observer will scrape a small clean circle in it, the way he always does. And that will be the most strenuous thing that happens tomorrow. The temperature is holding steady, the frost is growing, feather by feather. The snow is light and steady and slow. All readings are normal. All is well. A little way out from the station, perhaps 30 steps, stands the snow gauge. It isn't much to look at. A white wooden post, about chest height, with measuring marks painted up its side, standing alone in the snowfield in a pool of moonlight, half buried in everything it has already measured. Once each night, the observer pulls on his heavy coat and his overboots and walks the 30 steps out to read it. He did this an hour ago. The walk takes 2 minutes each way, the reading takes 10 seconds. He has never once rushed any part of it. Tonight's report from the snow gauge, 11 centimeters of new snow since yesterday evening. 11 centimeters of small, dry, six-sided flakes, arriving one at a time for 24 hours. Think about how snow actually falls here for a moment, not the snow of storms. This snow. Each flake lets go of a cloud several miles up and then takes its time, drifting, tacking left and right on air too gentle to be called wind. A single flake can spend the length of a lullaby just getting to the ground, and when it lands on a billion others that made the same trip, and it makes no sound at all. That is what is happening outside the window right now. It was happening before you pressed play. It will be happening after you're asleep. Millions of flakes, all night, all falling with nowhere else to be. The gauge reads 11 centimeters. The flakes are small and dry. The snow is light and steady and slow. Nothing needs to be measured again for hours. Nothing needs your attention. Up on the roof of the station, above the warm rooms and the lamplight, the wind instruments are keeping their own kind of watch. There is the weather vane, an old brass arrow, furred white with frost, pointing patiently into the northwest, as it has all evening. And beside it, the anemometer, 3 small cups on a spindle, catching what little wind there is, turning slowly, perhaps one lazy rotation every couple of seconds. On a stormy night, those cups blur. Tonight, you could follow a single cup around with your eyes and never lose it. 4 knots, the dial downstairs says, maybe 5 when the air stretches itself. The Observer's Handbook has a name for wind like this. It calls it a light air, just above calm. The kind of wind that can carry snowflakes sideways for a moment, but cannot lift them off the ground once they've landed. A light air from the northwest, the gentlest entry in the book. Above the slow-turning cups, the aurora has spread a little wider. Long curtains of green, with a hem of faint rose, rippling without sound over the whole dome of the sky. The instruments pay it no attention. The aurora is not weather. It asks for nothing, and it means nothing. It's simply the sky being the sky at the top of the world. The vane points northwest. The cups turn slowly. The temperature is holding steady, and the snow is light and steady and slow. All readings are normal. All is well. Back inside now, down the 2 wooden steps, into the warmest corner of the station. The kettle has begun to whisper. Not the whistle. The kettle here has never been allowed to whistle at night. Just the low, building whisper of water starting to think about steam. A sound, distant rain played underneath the floor. The observer lifts it from the stove just before it can say anything louder and pours hot water over dark leaves, hunt leaves inning into the same heavy mug he has used for 11 winters. The steam climbs up through the lamplight in a soft grey ribbon, folds over once and disappears. Beside the stove, the heater hums its single low note. It has hummed that note since October, and it will hum it until March. The observer long ago stopped hearing it, but his body hasn't. His body knows the note means warm, means inside, means nothing to do. Perhaps yours does too by now. This is the part of the night the observer calls the deep middle. The readings are done. The next ones are far away. The tea is steeping. The heater is humming. The snow is coming down past the dark windows, flake after flake after flake. And there is a particular heaviness that arrives in a warm room, when the outside is that cold and the inside of feet is this soft. You may be feeling it now. In the shoulders first, then the jaw, then the arms. There's no need to resist it. It's only the warmth doing what warmth does. The kettle has gone quiet again. The tea is poured. The heater holds its one low note. Nothing needs to be done tonight. Nothing needs your attention. Mug in hand, the observer walks to the tall window and stands there for a while, doing his least official duty of the night, the aurora report. No instrument at the station measures the northern lights. They appear on no dial and in no column, but for as long as anyone can remember, The night observers here have added a line about them to the log, and so he watches and prepares his line. Tonight the lights are broad and slow. A wide green curtain hanging over the snowy ridges to the north, swaying the way a curtain sways in a room where a window was closed some time ago and the air is still settling. Every few minutes, a soft pulse travels along the whole length of it, a brightening you'd miss if you blinked, and then the curtain goes back to its slow business of hanging there. The observer sips his tea. He does not photograph the aurora. He has learned what everyone who lives under these lights eventually learns, that they keep no schedule, reward no attention, and carry on identically whether watched or not, which makes them, he would say, the single most restful thing in the sky. His line for the log, when he writes it later, will read, "Aurora, broad, green, slow-moving, no action required. No action required." That could be the motto of this entire night. From this same window, on clear nights, if you look past the ridges, along the line the weather vane points, you can see the village. It has no name in the logbook. The entries only ever say, "The village to the north." It sits in a shallow valley a long way off, a loose handful of golden lights, soft as banked embers, and above them, just visible tonight, a few slow ribbons of chimney smoke rising straight up in the still air before the cold combs them away. The observer sometimes looks at it through the old brass binoculars that live on the windowsill, not to see anything in particular, just to confirm what he always confirms. The windows there are lit, but dim. the kind of light that comes from banked stoves and lamps turned low. The long wooden buildings on the village's edge, workshops of some sort, people say, went dark hours ago, all at once, the way workshops do when the day's work is truly finished. Whatever is made there, and the observer has heard the stories, everyone up here has, it is not being made tonight. Tonight the village is doing exactly what the station is doing, keeping warm, keeping quiet, letting the snow come down on its roofs, 11 centimeters and counting. He notes it in the margin of his mind, for the log. Village lights steady, smoke rising vertical. All quiet to the north, all quiet to the north, all quiet everywhere tonight. There is one more outdoor observation in the station's nightly routine, and it is the oldest one in the book. Every winter night, somewhere near the bottom of the page, the log requires a single line on the conditions for reindeer. No one now at the station remembers exactly when the column was added. It simply has always been there, between snowfall and remarks. And so, every night in December, it is filled in with complete seriousness, the way all old instructions are followed in places like this. The observations are made from the west window, which looks out over a long, open snowfield. Tonight the field lies smooth and blue-white under the moon, and crossing it, in an easy, unhurried curve, a line of old tracks, cloven, broad, lightly dusted over by the evening snow. A small herd passed through sometime yesterday, travelling north. Nothing has disturbed the field since. So the observer assesses as the column requires. The snow surface, firm underneath, soft on top, good footing. The air, calm, with that light 4-knot breeze. Nothing that would trouble anything with a winter coat. Visibility, very good, between the moon and the aurora. Cloud, high and thin. No storms anywhere on the barometers, not tonight, and not from the look of the pressure for several nights to come. He takes up the pen and fills in the old column in 5 words. Conditions for reindeer, said Haver, highly favourable. Why the station still tracks this? For whom? The log has never said, and the observer has never asked. Some questions are better left unwritten in a place this close to the village of top of the world, especially in the last weeks of December, highly favourable. That's all anyone needs to know. Back at the desk, the lamplight lands on the oldest residence of the station. The brass instruments. The barometer first. It hangs in its round brass case like a small ship's porthole, its needle resting at 1021 millibars, exactly where it rested an hour ago. And the hour before that, around its face, in worn engraved letters, the old words, stormy, rain, change, fair, very dry. The needle sits deep in fair and has no plans. A steady barometer is the quietest good news there is. Falling pressure means weather is coming, rising pressure means weather is leaving. But a needle that simply stays means the sky above you has settled in for the night, the same as you have. Beside it, the thermometers, one in Celsius, one in Fahrenheit, agreeing with each other in their 2 old languages. The hygrometer, with its horsehair coil, reporting the dryness that makes the snow here so light. And the little brass clock, ticking at half the loudness of any clock you've ever owned, which the observer winds each evening with 11 slow turns of a key. None of these instruments has a screen, none of them glows, or updates, or asks. They are read by lamplight, once an hour, by a person holding a pen, and between readings they do their work in total silence. The way they have since they were carried here on a sledge generations of winters ago. Pressure steady at 1021, temperature holding at 31 below, humidity low. The clock wound and ticking softly. All readings are normal, all is well. It is past midnight now. The observer takes one last slow look around the outside of the station, not because anything needs checking, but because it is the last item of the ritual, and rituals are finished gently or not at all. Along the walkway, the wooden railings have gathered their midnight snow, a perfect, unbroken ridge of white, balanced along every rail, 2 fingers deep, undisturbed by the light air. The antenna wires overhead carry their own thin lines of snow, impossible threads of white against the dark. And beneath the eaves, a row of icicles catches the amber of the window light, each one holding a single warm star of it. Every horizontal surface of the world is being slowly tucked in. The railings, the wires, the roof of the instrument shelter, the snow gauge's little wooden cap. The whole station is being rounded off, softened, quilted, at the rate of about 1 centimeter an hour, by the lightest snow in the book. Nothing out there needs him. Nothing out there needs anyone. The snow manages the whole night by itself. He steps back from the glass and lets the curtain of frost keep the view. The last part of every shift happens away from the desk, in the deep armchair beside the stove, where the observer settles now, logbook on his knee, the lamp turned down to its lowest turn. The stove has burned down to embers, a slow orange breathing behind the glass. And by that light and the lamps together, He reads the night back to himself, one soft line at a time. It is not required, no column asks for it. But he has done it every night for 11 winters, because a night, he says, should be folded up neatly before it is put away. 11 o'clock, minus 31.2, pressure steady, wind northwest, 4 knots, snow light and continuous, frost advancing on the north window, fern pattern, as expected, new snow 11 centimeters, flakes small and dry. Aurora broad, green, slow-moving, no action required. Village lights steady, smoke rising vertical, all quiet to the north. Conditions for reindeer highly favorable. And at the bottom of the page, the line that ends every entry on every night in every one of the grey-blue volumes on the shelf, all readings normal. He closes the logbook, but leaves the pen in the fold, ready for tomorrow, and lets the book rest on his knee, one hand flat on the cover, the way you'd rest a hand on a sleeping dog. The stove breathes. The clock ticks. The snow comes down. The lamp is turned down now, almost to nothing. The instruments can watch themselves for a while. That's what they were built for. The wind has eased to 3 knots, then 2. Even the weather is going to bed. You don't need to listen anymore. The observer will stay. He always stays. The snow is light and steady and slow. All is well. One low lamp in the corner of the station, a frosted window, snow falling past the glass, flake after flake after flake. The observer adds the last entry of the report. 3 words in small, neat handwriting at the bottom of the page. End of report. Good night to the station and the snow on its railings. Good night to the village, glowing to the north. Good night to the frost, still growing, feather by feather, and good night to you. You made it to the quiet part. The snow will fall all night. The watch is kept. All readings are normal, and all is well.